Yo guys, I'm Yellow, a Norwegian hardcore PC gamer, and today I figured that we should go through how to not rage or tilt as much in CS. Before we do that though, I figured I should mention what went down in this gameplay. So I had a couple of shots so insane that I figured I should turn off the X-ray, so enjoy that. On top of that, turning it off actually increases my frame rate when recording these replays a bit, so enjoy the highlights. Now, as for the main subject, this here is related to gaming science and the mental game combined. So the interesting part also, by the way, I guess I should mention this before we dive deep into this, is that some people will get a lot of usage from these advices, while some people don't even need them, because we are all, as people, made up differently. So when it comes down to emotions and how to deal with them better, everybody will have their own specific different type of recipe, which will work the best for you, obviously. Now let's go through the main details that will help you out more than not, in which these have especially helped for me. Now they go game by game, it's kind of strange, but they've worked out a lot in terms of me playing CS or Call of Duty and not raging so much. Now first thing first then will be to learn the game in terms of its most basic things and most extreme things. That could be everything from the best place to the most basic place to the most terrible place in which should never happen, in which that takes a lot of experience and time, and that is also aside from watching highlights of terrible, funny, or really, really awesome things. Now it's very important to remember the most insane things, because when you're able to hit a crazy shot, that is actually going to signify what you should not rage of the most, in which if you then are on the receiving end, while in some scenarios you might think that the enemy is a dank 420 blaze hit hacker, that might not necessarily be the case, especially also with CS and how hard you can dominate enemies when you are at, you know, a higher skill level. Now why this is important to focus on is because if you combine this with actual skill and commitment to the game of CS, it will synergize into overriding whatever natural emotion that you might get from any scenario. Now this actually happens in many scenarios, and it's something that literal, like, people that work in space and such, they need to focus on this, because if something then happens and they're, you know, in their spacesuit and it's phobia like, them just staying headstrong and calm is so important, because that will allow them to get through in a rational way whatever they're doing. And the same actually goes for when you're clutching in Counter-Strike, or whenever you're raging, or whenever something insane or very, very crazy happens. You need to get into the situation and learn so much about it in which you can then eventually conquer it. That is, especially in my scenario and case, why it goes game by game, okay? I still rage like an insane bastard when I'm playing H1Z1 Battle Royale, and I try to win, and then some enemy does something stupid, or maybe I did something that was a little bit risky, and I get punished for it. Obviously, I find it to be incredibly annoying and frustrating and just very, very provoking, and I rage a lot. But as I keep on getting more and more experience in the game, I can override it or run around it, or if I would ever get pissed, I still focus so much on the game in which I don't really need to get that mad. And especially with a game like CSGO, it's actually super easy, if you know a lot about the game, to skip by feeling pissed and wasting time, because there's a new round. So if you then plan on what happens, or you spectate your teammates, or you try and extract more and more and more information from what happened in every single game, you're eventually going to get so distracted, even if you would feel incredibly happy or sad or you know, just frustrated of what happens, you're not going to land in that kind of emotional space, at least. That at least also happens to many people. It doesn't need to be the case, though. Some people still rage and they beast. I do believe Fnatic is a good example of this. Or while some people, on the other hand, they will still choke to, you know, the end of times in which they are one of the best teams ever. That would be Astralis to a certain degree in the past, at least. You know, the Danish CSGO team. Now, as for your emotions, your brain actually got a built-in function to try and normalize any emotions that you feel. Thus meaning that you also, the more you get affected by a feeling, the less you will feel it. So literally raging and playing more Counter-Strike is going to help you out in this avenue, because eventually, while you might get a couple of aces, it won't feel as awesome, but in the same scenario, it won't really necessarily be as terrible to get into a situation in which you are getting annihilated and you want to feel really pissed, because your brain is just going to override that. And especially with CS, the more focus and dedication you put towards the game, the more effectively and easily this is going to be done per se. Now, I also want to point out that everything I explained in this video, many pro players and casual players of Counter-Strike indirectly practice. So keep that in mind. And here is probably the most insane pre-fire shot I've ever done. The plan was to tap the box a couple of times, but the first shot killed him, so that was pretty awesome. Hopefully people enjoy the gameplay. Here are two related videos if you want to get even better at the game of CS. If you want to support me as a lovely content creator, you can go in the description and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch. And that is aside from going to the Patreon page and support me directly there. There's a couple of rewards for those who care to do such. Anyways, thanks for watching, have a nice day, and don't get beastified when you play.